Your views on the likes of Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks have divided opinion on social media, but Kenny and the Bucks have been proven to be big draws for Ring of Honor in recent years, arguably due to how strongly they're booked in Japan. My question is, if you were the booker or promoter of Ring of Honor, or a similar territory like Smoky Mountain, would you book Omega or the Bucks for your show, despite your contempt for them, but knowing you'd get a good house or gate from it?
Oh, my God. That's a good one because I've never actually, I mean, in the WWF, obviously, there were some people, if I could have just taken my pencil and erased off the goddamn roster, they would have been gone. But I've never actually had to be responsible for booking someone that I had serious professional distaste for, that was like, why the fuck would anybody put this motherfucker on a fucking professional wrestling card? I've never been in that position where I had to do that because none of them have ever actually drawn any money before. And you know, that's the sad thing is I recognize, which is another reason why I really, don't involve myself that much in current wrestling, because I recognize that there is a limited amount of people that are paying to see this shit. And, or that, that are willing to not take it seriously enough. In Omega's case, he's not the worst wrestler in the world. I don't see, as I've mentioned, the fucking best wrestler in the world thing by a long shot. And neither do you, because we've talked about it. But if he hadn't wrestled the girl and the doll and just done all the goofy shit and just has the attitude that wrestling is all fun and games and video games and fucking, we can do whatever we want. Athletically, I would book him without that background, even not being forced to. The Bucks, I have booked. You couldn't book them against, truthfully, to me, a team like Haas and Benjamin or even the Briscoe brothers and have them be physically competitive. I'm sorry, visually, but I knew they were a good high spot team. And, as a matter of fact, they're still mad at me because they think that I lied and it wasn't Joe Koff telling me, no, we can't fly him from California. When he and they even said one time, or they said that, but they still brought Mike Bennett in with Maria. Well, yeah, number one, because Maria was working for a shockingly shameful amount just to help Mike and to get back involved in a business where doing something she liked. And yes, we're going to fly a goddamn star like that. But at any rate, but once again, with the Bucks, just making such a mockery and just being part of that group of wrestlers that just thinks that it's okay to fucking throw people around with their dicks and do the dance routines and just take it as they've said before, as far as they possibly could, to do everything everybody told them not to. This business is not about them. And there's no reason why that they should have the power to devalue the business with all this fucking bullshit and stupid shit, much less super kicking everybody 74 times, but just being blatantly phony and bullshit and winking at everything and hugging and kissing and booking the dick wrestler and the invisible hand grenade guy and their whole generation of little jack-offs that instead of having the woman haters club at the goddamn, on their Little Rascals, they have the fucking killing the business club. And they play their video games and they fucking, I guess, drink their goddamn Ovaltine or whatever the fuck. I don't know. The Young Bucks in the traditional wrestling business would not have drawn that much money. But today, with people who like that kind of thing, that's the kind of thing those people like. So I would have booked at any point the Young Bucks as an underneath babyface high spot tag team on a show to win some and lose some. And I would have, without knowing any of their background, and I would have booked Omega and maybe see if I could get him out of that goofy body language, no stupid fucking expressions, if I didn't know his background on pretty much anything. But knowing their backgrounds and the question being, would you do it for if it would make money? I had high hopes for Ring of Honor, but I've come to the conclusion now, because of the Ring of Honor experience, that nobody really wants to try to present a serious, credible wrestling product anymore. And it may have been parodied so long that the horses left the barn. So I would have probably resigned my job and given it to somebody who would book these fucking cretins. And then I would be home going, well, at least it was a good run while it lasted. Which is kind of what I'm doing right now.
I think that's the tour you've been on for the last few years.
I choose not to be involved in this because I can't condone it, but that's what we're left with now. There's a big company that's going to make a lot of money doing kind of hokey wrestling, and there's going to be a few companies making a little bit of money doing really hokey fucking kids, what do they call it, hipster wrestling, and there you go. So that's why I'm not doing it, and I wouldn't book anything now except dinner reservations. I don't care how much money you fucking paid me.
Well, let me flip it on its head a little bit. You know, you talked about how the Bucks really wouldn't have fit into any of the traditional territories the way they currently are situated, this style, this way they are. How would the Rock and Roll Express fit into wrestling today if there's a world where selling doesn't really mean much and you don't have to worry about heat?
Well, okay. I mean, you just take that out of it. A lot of people forget Robert Gibson was 6'2" and 215 pounds when he was skinny, and he looked like he was an athlete. And Ricky was still bigger than both the Bucks, and then facially they got a little bit more mature. They were teeny boppers, but yes, they could stand in the ring with even the Russians, and you could buy it because they could work, and you could make the people believe it and understand it. Ricky wasn't just slamming fucking Nikolai Volkov or goddamn Nikita Koloff or whichever set of the Russians they were working with just 3 times in a row, and then Robert come off the top and flip twice and they do a spike pile driver or whatever the fuck, right? They made it plausible because they knew how to work and wrestle. They could sell and they could double team, and also they mentally, psychologically, I saw Ernie Ladd work with Ricky Morton in Houston for 3 minutes in the ring. They were doing spots that made total sense, and people bought it every step of the way. It's not just size, but it's the shit they do and the fucking and the fucking look they have on their face where they're winking at everybody. Oh, it's all cute, and just the whole fucking world that they have built for themselves. So the Rock and Roll Express fit in today if they were as young as they were then. They actually, you go to and look at the Memphis matches, they really did need to slow down. They were going too fast because they were so fucking young. And so they could go just as fast. They wouldn't have never done these stupid moves where there was a high risk that they were going to paralyze themselves. So they might not have gotten over because they got over because the people wanted to see the underdog win, and now they know it's all a show. And they got over because Ricky Morton could sell more believably and sympathetically than anybody else, and now nobody wants to see that because it gets in the way of people actually doing moves. And then they wanted to see the Rock and Roll triumph over the evil heels that had fucking abused them. But since the heels are more popular than the baby faces because the people think they do cooler shit, then they probably wouldn't have gotten over it all because they wouldn't have just gone out there and done a bunch of fucking stupid shit over and over again to each other for no reason, ending in a fucking 3 count. But then again, they wouldn't have gotten in the business to begin with because if they tried to do that, Ricky's father, Paul, and Robert's older brother, Ricky Gibson, would have probably kicked the shit out of them for going out and having bad, stupid matches on purpose.
How long does a buck remain young?
Well, it ain't going to be as long as the Rock and Roll Express have remained the rock and roll, I'll tell you that. But anyway, so there is a kind of an audience for this foolishness these days that all these guys engage in. And it's going to be a niche product for the rest of our lives, except for the one big business where it's still a niche product, but it's the biggest niche. And wrestling is never going to be mainstream as it was, nor as popular on a mainstream basis, I should say, as it was, nor I don't see what you can possibly do to get it back to that point because it's fallen so far. And people will say, well, I got it back from 95 to the Attitude Era. Now, I'm talking back to when more people than not in a particular city actually kind of watched wrestling on television. 60s, 70s, 80s. That's not going to happen anymore. It can't get that big again. Because what are they going to do? Human sacrifices? Maybe when they can computer generate the wrestlers, that's when it'll get that big again. It won't actually be real by that point. And I don't even mean real. I mean real humans. Because what else are you going to fucking do? These idiots have fucking gone through everything. They've made a complete joke out of everything. They've taken every angle and prostituted it, every kind of match and prostituted it, every fucking move that can be done. People have been blown up, buried in cement. Big budget, small budget, outlaw mud shows, fucking WWE pay-per-view. Everything's been done to everybody. So what the fuck? And nobody believes a goddamn thing, except they think that Brock Lesnar is still the baddest fucking might go off script into business for himself motherfucker in the world, which is why he gets paid more money per match than anybody else. And they won't let anybody else get over like that because it's really an accident that he came along and did that.